your stuff's good? Jane, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
You got a sweater on? Yes.
Yeah, I got my sweater
Jane,
on.
do you have your is that a coffee?
No.
Oh.
It's water.
Jane's going to be sleeping in a little bit.
There's a reason behind that.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order.
No, today was a special day because I was someplace before 8 o'clock.
Yes, Jane wants a proclamation.
I don't have the agenda. Do we actually get an agenda? Here we go. These back-to-back meetings. All right. Call this meeting order. This is a special meeting of the Flagler Beach City Commission sitting as a community redevelopment agency. Today is Thursday, April 6, 2023. The time is 5:31 p.m. And it's not on here, but Mayor, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. If everybody could take a moment to look at their phones, make sure it's on silent vibrate or turned off. And this meeting is, we'll jump right to, wait, look at these numbers. They're all out of order. This is for a change order in the amount of $21,225. CRA Director, would you like to take us through this?
Sorry about the number. I didn't.
Oh, you're fine. We're on item 4.
No, it's item 2. As you're aware, the decorative street lights that we are replacing are over 30 years old. And the bid went out and we got it. We approved it and gave it to the contractor. It's Economy Electric. And when they started to demo these lights, it comes to fruition that what they were expecting was maybe 4 to 6 inches of concrete normally, and then it would be in the ground. Well, it's not in the ground. 30 some odd years ago, they decided to pour huge slabs that are 4 and 6 foot deep and encased that around the pole. So they're having to actually jackhammer down all the way down so that they can put the new poles in. That's extra labor. And they have asked for a change order, which the change order is for $21,000. Hang on, give me a second.
$21,220.
Yeah, I'm sorry. $21,225 for the extra labor. And the way they came up with it is they calculated how long it took them to be able to actually bore in and, jackhammer in. And there's 15 locations that they have to do this with. And it's taking them a day and a half to do it. So they're figuring the extra day of labor. Some of them are going to go easier than others, but they don't want to wind up coming back later on and saying, well, I need more money because it was more difficult in such and such a location. Hopefully they'll come under, and that's what their hope is. They were going to go ahead and just continue doing the work, but I couldn't allow them to do that and then come back afterwards. We needed to do a change order now. So I think it's justified. If you have any questions from the company, they have one of their representatives here, Chad Donnelly, who's the one that does all the estimations and all that kind of stuff. He's in Jacksonville because of Easter weekend, so he apologized that he couldn't be here. But this, Chairman Cooley, you saw it. You saw what happened.
I don't think it takes any longer than 5 minutes to get through that. No.
Yeah, right.
In front of my store, there was about 3 foot deep of solid concrete. The old lights were bolt-ons, so there was a base, and then they were bolted on, and then that whole base was covered up with concrete. So it looked like if you were to not demo the lights, if you just look at them, they look like they're sunk into the ground, and you pour concrete around them. But that wasn't the case. What what was the case upon demo was once the light was pulled, they had a big, had big bolts coming out of the concrete. But then when you actually go to try to set the pole down and they started doing the demo, it was about every bit of 3 foot. And that was at my location. So it's going to be a lot of work to get through that. So before we get into a bunch of my comments, discussion up here.
I just had a basic question. So this is a different pole than what was there before?
The ones that we have now are direct bury, and
Okay.
they assumed that the ones we had 30 years ago were direct buried also, but they're not. I mean, I guess 30 years ago they really wanted them to last.
Well, they lasted 30 years.
Yeah. At least they didn't fly away, let's put it that way.
Right.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I walked by several times, seeing what they were doing, and the one in front of your place seemed to be the worst of the ones that I saw. And but 4 to 6 feet, I didn't see 4 to 6 feet.
The one in front of the Bank of America was actually 4.5 feet. And that one was really difficult.
Okay. But then we've got ones we don't know what they're going to be yet, right?
Exactly.
And then you got the ones that were in the park that they weren't in concrete on.
No, the ones in the park, actually, they didn't have to demo because we owned the property. So they were able to direct bury them right in Veterans Park. And that's the issue, and maybe that'll explain it a little bit better. The reason why we did not have to have a DOT permit to be able to work in their right of way, because all these poles are in DOT right of way, is because we were just demolishing and replacing in the same spot. If they could not demo and move them over to the dirt side or sand side of the right of way, it wouldn't be a problem. We'd be still fine. But if we do that, then we have to go to DOT, get a permit from them to be able to do it, and that's going to delay the project even more. So what do? Do we just do what we said we were going to do and DOT was fine with it or not? So we saved money right here, which is good.
Out of the 15?
Yeah. So, like I said, this is the not to exceed is basically what they're doing. Hopefully they can bring it in under, and that's the hope that we're all working towards.
But the contract does not say not to exceed.
Yeah, I didn't see that
And that's
either.
the issue is, you even alluded to it earlier when you made a comment. You said, hopefully they won't come back asking for more money. But my concern is if we're going to do this, that the contractor needs to examine these sites enough where we can agree on a price that would be a not to exceed.
And that's what he's done. He
So
has done the
they've done their due
figuring
diligence?
based on what he's already done and, you know, how long it's taken. And he's put the labor amount in there, and that's the maximum at this point. If it takes less time, then it's less money.
Okay, so would you be comfortable with putting not to exceed in the paperwork that we approve?
Absolutely.
Okay. Further discussion?
That was the question I was going to ask.
Okay, with that addition, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Contractor, you're here. Do you got any thoughts you want to share with us or come up to the podium or anything?
Oh, we get the fastest the day goes by.
Come up to it.
Yeah, if you can, just come up and, Penny, is the mic on for him?
Is the green light lit in front of you? No.
Push button.
Yeah, as I was saying, the more times we do it, the faster we get, so I don't think there should be a problem in going over.
Well, how about going under?
So probably we could do that too.
And that's the goal. That's, I know that Chad is.
That's always the goal, to go under, because as I said, the more we do it, the faster we get at it, because we're getting used to doing it. So I don't think we should go over.
Got it, okay. And if y'all haven't seen the light in front of the store, you guys finished it today, right?
Yeah,
Minus,
I put one light up to see what they would look like, yeah.
Okay, but it's not wired up yet, right? You just have
No,
the
no.
housing there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
It looks good.
Do we know when this project will be complete, what our time frame is?
May 1st.
Okay.
So the amount could go down, depending on what we end up finding, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
And then it sounds like I heard a consensus on a not to exceed verbiage in the contract. Yes. Okay, so we have a consensus on that. City manager, do you have any comments or anything? No comments? Further discussion? All right, let's open this up to public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak on this? Come on up, Bob, if you can, please state your name and address.
Bob Cunningham, 557 North 10th Street. So let me give you all some stuff.
Oh, you got me nervous.
Okay, just make sure Penny gets a copy.
Oh, yeah. I got photos.
Thank you.
Any help? Help with it.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I sent you.
Yeah.
So on April 3rd, I was requested by Commissioner Bellhumor to go out and take a look at the polls and the work and what was all supposed to be done, and to have it for this meeting. To be able to do that, I had to go through and look at the bid packet, the executed contract. I did not check to see if there were any as-built. I did not talk to the building department or the league to see if they had any information on what was already there. The page numbers are a little off now because the original document that I worked from was a different one than what was copied. So please forgive that. But the picture of the existing concrete poles are shown on page 8 in the bid packet. Additionally, page 8 shows a new existing pole. When looking at the pictures of the existing concrete poles, it's obvious that the poles are installed within concrete sidewalks, and that they are likely encased in concrete due to the size, weight, and the environmental conditions of the area, hurricane strength winds and everything else. On April 4th, I performed a site survey and looked at all the locations. All the poles are set within the concrete sidewalks. I have no idea. I have no knowledge if the contractor came out and did a site survey. If they would have seen that they were all in concrete and in the concrete sidewalks, and that there was likely some type of concrete substructure to hold the concrete poles in place. I didn't see anything in any of the paperwork that shows a change that was supposed to be happening. When I looked at the scope of the project, it states that it's supposed to be the demolition of 18 existing concrete poles. So you still need to get rid of the 18 poles. There's no change there. That was what was requested of me to do and look. You all get to make the decision if you're going to do anything, make any exceptions. It looks to me like it's just what was in the contract to be done. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Mr. Chairman, can I?
Hold on, let's get all public comment wrapped up first. Any other members of the public wish to speak on this agenda item? All right, we'll close public comment. CRA Director.
I just need to clarify something. Yes, all concrete poles are buried under the sidewalk, usually, like I said, in anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of concrete, but they're usually direct buried. This was an exception. Secondly, yes, I did check with the building department to see if there was anything that existed as to when those were put in. Unfortunately, there is nothing. So we had no way of knowing that that's the way that they were installed. Concrete poles nowadays are installed exactly the same way our poles, the new ones, are. They're direct bury, and then you have the concrete on the sidewalk around it. And like I said, it's usually 4 to 6 inches depending.
So And I guess, Bob, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So to paraphrase kind of what Bob's saying is, in the original scope of work, it was to pull the pole out, which would leave a hole, and then to set the other pole.
Correct. And
Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, that's just what I want to make sure of, so thank you, Bob. And, which is not what has happened, because now we have poles that are bolted to concrete, so there's no hole to set the pole back in.
Exactly.
And that's how we ended up arriving at this scope of work change, because
Correct.
the base is different than what was originally thought of back in 12, which is what I'm seeing on this last page here. This was done in 12.
Yes.
Rick, did you have something?
Yeah, I just went to, I knew I was going to Tallahassee, and it seemed as though as they were progressing along, it wasn't near as big a project to get. I don't know, it took them 2 days to do the first one, obviously, because they had to re-engage and bring the right stuff to do the job. And then took them another day to do the next couple, I think. But it seemed like they were gaining speed, and I didn't know whether that was because they were getting better at what they were doing, because they, knew what they were going after, or whether it was truly getting easier because the concrete wasn't as thick. So I asked Bob to just kind of keep an eye, since I was going to be in Tallahassee. I can't see that far. So that's, just wanted to explain why I asked Bob to take a peek.
Yeah, and and you heard the gentleman from the company say they're getting faster as they go along, so there might be a potential cost savings. However, the one that they've been working on for quite a while, that's in front of my store, still is not hooked up yet, because you have the whole issue of getting the electric that was in the concrete redone and set to the new pole. So that's also a challenge with the way it's done versus just pulling it out of the ground and having your wires there, right? Because you can just access it through the little plate that's by the ground. Any other discussion? Commissioner Spradley.
I had actually a couple for Mr. Cunningham. I'm just unclear. I'm not sure if there was a conclusion that was being drawn by you or Commissioner Bellhumor. And also, what's your background having to do with this?
So I do not have a background in putting light poles in the ground, right? So that's not my area of expertise. My background is networking and computer type work. So not putting in poles. It just stands to me, it stands to reason that if you're going to put a large concrete pole along a beach where we're subject to hurricane winds and other environmental forces, that you're going to make sure it's secured and not movable. They're going to move some, especially with the wind, but you're going to put some type of substructure in my opinion, that you would put some type of concrete substructure in to make sure or minimize the event of that pole moving and causing damage.
And you heard the CR director say that it was expected there would be a bit of concrete, and that this is not an issue because of an absence of concrete, but just a lot more than they thought.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just for clarity, the real issue is the mounting style of the lights that are currently out there is not this, which was drawn in 12. They're bolt-ons, in addition submerged in concrete, small layer, but they're bolt-ins, and they're a completely different design than what's documented on this.
So what the pole that I showed that provided in my packet is with the new direct bury pole. It's not the old poles.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Yes.
That's the new pole they're putting in.
That's new.
That has nothing to do with the old ones.
No, this document was dated 4/25 of 12.
That was the document that was the pole that was
Same
listed
exact
in the
poles
bid
that we
packet.
put in the downtown.
But that's not what's out there.
Not the old ones.
Right.
No, those are the ones that are going in.
Yeah. I guess I'm not following what you're saying, though. This document's from 2012.
That is from the bid packet that went out.
Yeah, and that's part of the bid packet. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but
I
yes.
guess sometime between the time that ours were put in 2012, it changed to this style. So typically, this big glob at the bottom is not necessarily concrete. It's,
Right.
a lot of times it's gravel.
But
Put
I
it there.
think Karen said it was going to be concrete.
But that's the new pole.
No.
The old poles are large,
Right.
heavy concrete poles.
The poles will be put in to the depth that they need.
well, hold on. It's not the new pole because this is from 2012.
It's the same exact pole that
Right,
we put in
but-
2012.
I just want to make sure there's clarity around it, though. The old poles, are not, the old poles are not the new poles. So the conversation's getting muddy, but I appreciate it. Like, we've got to stop where public comment's closed. There's two different types of poles out there, correct? There's concrete poles, and then there's also another style.
Correct.
But none of that changes the fact that we got to put a hole in the ground. And there's no hole in the ground right now. There's concrete in place of it. And that's why we got the change order in front of us.
So these, just for clarity, I think the old ones were concrete and the new ones are plastic.
No, they're not plastic,
Well,
they're
that's what this
composite.
says. Fiberglass, composite inner
Composite.
core, elastomeric, urethane outer shell. Doesn't say anything about cement.
There's old, the ones that are green in tint are concrete. Those were the ones set up long ago when Mr. Frassrand was part of a redevelopment forward with Flagler. They were put in the 90s, 96 maybe. Is that the ones you're talking about? Yes.
Okay, there's two different styles out there. There's old and older.
Correct.
And I think that's where the conversation's getting.
Right.
Because the new is the ones that are sitting on the truck ready to go on the ground.
Correct.
And they're
then you-
concrete. They're made out of concrete?
No,
They're
Yeah.
fiberglass with the
the
plastic
composite.
coating. Okay, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
So that kind of answers my other question as to whether they were breakaway or not, because the concrete ones would not be. So
Well,
I'm sure that makes FDOT happy that they're breakaway style.
I don't know if they're breakaway though. I don't think they meet breakaway criteria on being composite.
They meet the wind load.
Right.
Okay, and as long as they're installed properly, and yes, to answer your question, Commissioner Mealy, they will be encased once they go in the ground.
But I thought you
Then
said-
you put fill in, okay? And then you put concrete around them where the sidewalk is. So all of the poles that we put in 2012, with the exception of one or two where the lights dropped, none of them have gone anywhere through all the hurricanes we've been through.
None of the poles.
None of the poles.
The lights have.
Yeah,
The lights.
Yeah, many lights.
Yep. I watched one light almost kill somebody. Okay, further discussion.
I just had one question since we're just asking questions. Had we ordered the same exact previous pole, would we still be in the same situation
Yes.
of having a change order to rip up the concrete and re-pour?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, because the document you put in the bid package is this one, right?
And that's
And that's
exactly
the pole
same.
you got, right?
Yep.
Which is not the pole that came out of the ground in certain locations.
No.
Right. Hopefully that answered it, because we got new, old, and older, and then we have all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah, I don't think we should be spending time discussing what the lights look like. We already approved that somewhere along the way.
I want to discuss engineering of the bowl.
No, I don't want, no. And I know anytime you have a project that you want to do in your house, it ends up being sideways after a while. You have to add stuff to it or whatever. And I think that's what this is about.
Well, and unfortunately, we didn't have documentation going back far enough, so nobody knew it was in
Karen
the ground.
tried.
Yeah.
requirements for retention on those are 10 years, and they were gone quite a while ago.
All right. With that, I'll look for motion.
Thank you.
Oh. You said it so fast, I didn't quite get what you said.
You gotta keep moving,
Okay.
unless you want to talk about the bulbs.
No. Make a motion, we approve a change order in the amount of $21,220, not to exceed $21,225 to decorative street lights replacement contract.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Any other comments or business we need to cover, CRA Director, City Manager?
No, sir, go home.
Penny?
Oh, Penny has something.
It's
I'm
not
sorry.
a CRA item, but I'm just asking you to look at your calendars to see if you'd be available for me to schedule a workshop meeting. Not for CRA, for regular. And I'm not asking you to make a motion or even a consensus about this, just seeing that you're available. April 24th, May 2nd, May 3rd, or May 4th. And this would be a daytime meeting, 5 to 6 hours. And this would be, since we didn't have a strategic planning session, Mr. Abels feels it would be a good idea to have the departments overview their capital items, the services they provide, and the items they need to support that. These are major functions of each department. So you would be a department overview of current services, how those services have changed and could be changed by regulations or demographics or citizen needs, the changes in service that is needed, and a general review of capital needs.
All right, can you do those dates a little slower?
No. April 24th, May 2nd, May 3rd, or May 4th.
I'll start. I'll say I'm available all dates except May 4th.
This is a daytime thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I was going to say there's a power board meeting May 2nd. All right, the only one that doesn't work for me is April 24th.
April 24th doesn't work for me either.
And Scott's not good on May 4th, so
4th.
now we're down to the 2nd and the 3rd.
May 2nd or May 3rd?
I'm okay with the
I think that's a
Third.
Tuesday and a Wednesday, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure, yes.
Yeah, can we do the 3rd?
What time you want to start, Mr. Abels?
6.
5:30 in the morning. No.
We know Jane can start at 8.
we possibly can, I would suggest 9 o'clock
Okay.
is starting time.
Jane, can you
May
make,
2nd.
you make 9?
On May 2nd, I can.
Jane's gonna be tired.
I thought we said May 3rd.
Yeah, I just realized
May 3rd, so
May 3rd is, I got something. Huh?
May 3rd, right?
Oh, can you go back to May 2nd?
The 2nd's kind of a challenge for me.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right,
Is that workable?
yeah,
You'll be up late the night before, Jane.
no.
Do we have a consensus
Did you
on the
notice
3rd?
they pick on me a lot?
That's what it's about, getting up early.
Yeah.
I've got 4 for May 3rd. I haven't heard, Mr.
What about down
Chairman.
here? Mayor?
I'm fine.
So May 3rd,
Commissioner Spradley?
May 3rd at 9 a.m. All
We
right,
have a
and
consensus.
you'll still get notices for that, and it'll be
I want to
posted.
put it in.
Okay. Any other business?
No, sir.
All right. Look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All right.
Thank you, ladies.
Thanks, electrical dudes. Appreciate you hanging out with us.
No problem.
You gotta come here and make a speech now.
The right one first.
So what's for lunch?
Yeah.
What do you want? You'll be hanging out in the store tomorrow?
Everybody have a good weekend.
Hey, electrical dude, you'll be hanging out in the store tomorrow?
Okay, cool. All right.